on the oxygen.
Oh dear. No, I just had to get my packet up.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh,
Not a
dear.
big deal.
Okay.
Wrong tab.
Let me get back too much.
I know, I
Liz,
have too
maybe
many.
like we can arrange a driving situation with all the things at some point, but, I'm so sorry, hold on a minute. Here we go.
I know I'm starting, so.
Perfect. All right. Good morning, everybody. It is 11:04 and we are here at our regular Board of County Commissioner meeting, first meeting of May the 2nd. If y'all could silence your cell phones, please, and join me in a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. First on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. Clerk Lauritzen let us know that we need to post, we need to meet some posting requirements for a few of the special events. And so of the ones listed today, the Silver Rush and the stage race, we can make a decision on.
No, we have to post.
Those are the ones we can't.
So we have to post 10 days prior for Silver Rush and the stage race. So we should do that at the next meeting. The other two have to go to the city. They are the authority for the city.
Well, the liquor licensing has to go to the city, but we also do
For the 100 races, because the liquor be served in the city.
is that a separate license? We still have to approve the special event permit for them though.
No, they approve it.
Is that, okay.
Because it's within city limits.
Well, the whole race though is not within the city limits. So there's a couple approvals that have to happen, yeah?
So it has to happen where the alcohol is served. So the stage race is at the rodeo grounds. And the Silver Rush is at Dutch Henry, so that's in the county.
Okay,
But the other two, it'll be served here. So even though it's county property, it's in the city. So the city is the licensing authority. So those two applications have to go to the city.
Yeah, only for the liquor licensing.
right. So we can do the special event permitting approval for the 100 mountain bike for the county's portion. And the
No.
city will do the liquor licensing.
No, the 100, it's being served in the city, so the city is the licensing authority. So those two permits will go to the city. I've already contacted them.
So,
The other two have to be posted, so we'll be able to approve them next meeting.
yeah, because on the agenda, it's only the special event permit liquor license. It's not
Oh,
There are 4
it's not the
different
permit.
permits.
for the event.
got it.
Yeah,
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. So
Yep.
we're still both like
we're good. Yeah.
thinking the same thing, but as far as it's labeled on the agenda. Okay, I see. Thank you, Kayla.
Yeah,
All right, so we're removing 6 altogether.
yes.
Very good.
And then Tracy will put it on the next agenda.
We'll put the Silver Rush and the stage race on the next agenda.
Yes.
Okay, great. So we'll remove item 6 from the agenda. Are there any other changes or alterations to the agenda as we see it? I don't have anything.
None for me, thank
Not
you.
for me.
Okay. All right, well, with removal of item 6 that has been posted, tabling that to our meeting on the 15th. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda.
Second?
Any further discussion? No?
Not for me.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Great, thank you. Do we have any community information items? Commissioner Fiedler?
Just quickly, maybe 2 updates on the Justice Center. The RFP for the Plan C is out on the street, which is the sort of structural mechanical assessment of this building and site, the current courthouse. And, so that's out, and I think there's I forget the timeline, but that is out on the street, and we're on track for that work to be done, so that the examination of what can be done in this building, the annex, and on this site, we'll have the results of that sort of at the same time that we get the Plan A and Plan B information sort of in the fall sometime, so that we can make a decision about what we're doing in 24. So that's that on that third string. So I think all of the 3, pathways of figuring out what we're doing to meet the Justice Center needs are sort of on track and moving. And then one small thing, remember we had to withdraw our underfunded courts $2 million award because we aren't constructing in 23, and we resubmitted. There's they requested 15 minutes on May 11th to just be able to answer any questions that the commission has on the resubmitted 200,000 or so request to continue funding our design work through this year.
Okay.
So I'm happy to do that.
Sure.
It's just 15 minutes, but
Awesome.
happy for anyone else to do it.
No.
But
Definitely.
Very good.
so that's it.
Excellent. Commissioner Marcella?
Sure, so, met with our CDOT representative from DTR, the Division of Transit and Rail, on Friday. Tim and I have been meeting with her pretty regularly. Tim was unavailable on Friday, so I met with her, but sent our budget out to, CDOT partners. So with our multimodal option funding, we have a total of $3.1 million. 2 million of that is federal, 1 million is local match for that. That will be used over a 5-year period of time. Out of that $3 million funding, we're anticipating $310,000 of that going towards capital purchase of a vehicle. So with that would be $232,000 of federal state and federal money, and then $77,000 of local money to make up that match for that asset. And then that would give us a budget of $2.7 million for our operations. 1.8 of that would be from CDOT. We'd spread that out over a 5-year period. I anticipate going to the city to ask for matching of that on a yearly annual basis. So annually, we would ask the city to split that funding 50-50, and that would be $95,000 from the county, $95,000 from the city, for a total of $558,000 annually to operate the service. $366,000 of that would come from that grant money. So you spread that over a 5-year period. 75% is grant money, 25% is your local match, and then we can adjust the years based on when we start. And then our next step is to do a formal kickoff meeting with CDOT, and then really drive the route and see where the stops are going to be, and then determine if we need to put some signage at the stops, assist with, if there's going to be a park and ride, what that's going to look like in the summer months. Can we double up on stops with the summit stage? So those are our next steps in implementation. Tim's going to work on that with Aaron and I, so that we can transition that project over to Tim, so that it will live in continuity with the county operation plan and not with an elected official, so that we're ramping down into that. So that's kind of where we're at with transit right now. Childcare, meeting with a group of local stakeholders to figure out some perpetual childcare funding to assist with the need of early childhood in our community. There are 450 children under the age of 5 here that do need care. I have a member on my board at Bright Start that is able to work in Lake County because there is childcare in Lake County. So it makes a difference to our economy. So trying to work on that, but want to create a solution that's equitable for all of our licensed providers, which includes Bright Start, the center, and Sophie Garza, who does provide some licensed childcare. She can take up to 6 children. Janine has been great about meeting with us to see what funding can come from Human Services to supplement what program, and maximizing CCAP dollars. So that is currently happening. There's a local stakeholder group of myself, Stacy Petty, the Child Care Coalition, John McMurtry, Full Circle, and CMC that are working on what that funding source looks like and how that funding is distributed to programs in our community, to help offset the cost of childcare. Early universal preschool will be a tremendous help. It will supplement programs like Bright Start and really help make them sustainable. So that is a really great program for our community. Bright Start has universal preschool spots available. We have 2 currently. We will open more in the fall as we get more people enrolled in universal preschool. So you have to enroll in the state site and then select your local program, and then they'll send your local program notification that you've registered. The center is able today to start taking registrations for universal preschool through the state site. So they missed the first round, but they're in the second round. And that was confirmed today that they're able to take those registrations to universal preschool at the state level. You still have to register for your local program, so even if you do register for universal preschool at the state level, you still have to apply to your local program. So there are some things happening there, but the state is aware of those intricacies and some of that feedback that we've gotten about, like, you know, if I apply for universal preschool, does that affect my immigration status, or is my immigration status questioned on an application for that funding? And the answer is no. And so even if you are financially able to support the cost of preschool for your 3 or 4-year-old, universal preschool will has a surplus of funding for the program that you're enrolled in. So even if you're financially able to support the program, universal preschool pays for your tuition plus some. So really it does help the program financially. So I would just encourage everyone to apply, regardless of financial status. So yeah, that and continuing work with Hunger Free Colorado and our local nonprofits on SNAP outreach. So that work is continuing. We've met with Hunger Free a couple times to get some questions answered about grant funding, partnering, matching. I think the next steps is for me, and I've talked to Janine and Tim about this, working internally to understand, like, if there is a goal of SNAP outreach to process X amount of applications per year, what does that look like internally for the county? Because if those applications are processed through the PEAK portal, then the county has to process them internally. And so does that increase staff capacity? Our staff is pretty maxed out with public assistance right now, especially with the end of the public health emergency. So working internally to understand, like, what is the SNAP outreach goal? Do we agree on it collectively as partners with county and nonprofits and human services? And then can we accommodate that internally? So those are kind of some of those things that we're working towards. We know we'll be able to start that contract with Hunger Free Colorado in October, so we have a little bit of grace period to figure that out. So the state did tell us that we can't jump in the middle of the cycle, so we'll wait until October.
Okay, so is there a better, now that Hunger Free Colorado is connected with the county, is there better, I mean, you are hopeful that we'll have a lot better coordination around effective outreach by
Yeah.
Hunger Free Colorado?
Yeah. So I think that we'll be able to have more of that outreach and more coordination between, like, what their program can do and what human services
And then building
does.
that capacity together.
Yeah, and there is some, like, delineation, right, of, like, you can do outreach and SNAP-Ps and help input an application, but then we're, like, it's just closing the circle of, like, once that application is submitted, where does it go? Like, it goes here for processing. Internally, we have to process it. We have a metric of timeliness Because if people are applying for benefits, they shouldn't wait for a month for food,
Right,
or medical help. So like we're measured on that timeliness piece. So if there is an influx of applications, what kind of pressure does that put on our staff with timeliness? So, yeah, and just like really, like, this is your lane with outreach, this is our lane with process, and where do they intersect?
excellent, thank you very much.
Yeah, for sure.
I have a couple quick things. The Parkville Water District Board election is today, so if you own property in the district, please go out and cast your vote. The election is at the Parkville Board office on Poplar. Can't remember what the address is, 1900 maybe-ish, past Safeway. We all probably know where that is. Go cast your vote. And Housing Authority and County Progress, really looking at the DOLA grant with infrastructure and, you know, as we go through our assessment process of hazardous materials in phase 1 and 2, we are maybe losing some opportunities or timelines on the infill parcels. We are discovering may look very different, so really adding options of locations to our portfolio and moving with all of them, pushing phase 1 and 2 and assessment and negotiations of acquisition forward. We will have the EPA, we've included, the county's included, or we've put out an RFP to get some sites that we don't have some information on or next steps of information out, and the EPA and CDPHE are helping us through that as brownfields projects. They'll be here this Friday, so all of that is moving along as quickly as possible. And I'll leave it at that. All right, moving on to public comments not on the agenda. Do we have any public? We don't have any public sitting here in the room. Unless we've received any that needs to be read aloud. Any public comments from those joining us on Zoom? I don't see any. Raise your hand or unmute. All right. Yes.
Well, I know it's not, I should put myself on the agenda. I do have some staffing updates
Sure.
I'd like to share.
Okay, great. Please.
Yes, I would like to congratulate Claire Skeen, our Emergency Management Director, for finishing her FEMA training and being all set to run all incidents in the county.
Excellent.
and which-
Well done.
That's
Good
great.
job, Claire. Awesome.
And then I'm also excited to announce that the Community Justice Coordinator position has been filled. That's with a local Angel Buhunda Gutierrez. So he'll be leading the important work on community justice reform in the community.
Excellent.
Thanks, Tim. Nice.
Thank you. All right, any other public comments? Okay, we'll move into new business then. First on our agenda, we have discussion and consideration of the lodging feasibility study proposal, and Adam Ducharme, our tourism director, will lead discussion here. Go
Thank
right
you.
ahead, yep.
I do have a PowerPoint that's in the packet. It's in the list of attachments. And I can either share my screen or it might just be easier
Go up, it's one of the folders.
in there. And,
That one?
yep, I believe so.
Okay.
No, actually, sorry. It's,
Nope.
I should have labeled it better. I think it's the Lake County RFP, yeah, that one. Oh, next one. They're all labeled the same thing, that's not helpful. It's the one up from there. That one there, that's it, you got it. Oh,
Nope.
should be in
Those are all
there.
PDFs.
Why?
It's not a PowerPoint.
Is that it?
Emerging market study. Do you want to email it to the board?
Sure.
Put it in
Room?
the Teams and not, it's
Okay. Would you email it to BOCC room?
doing it right now.
Oh, Liz is doing it? Who's doing
Apologies.
Done.
it? Done, Liz did it.
Refresh.
Sorry.
Put it in the packet too, to be extra redundant.
Is it?
Oh, and of course, it's all gonna come at once.
No, that was,
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
it's, if you go back to the email, I think it's there now. There you go.
Perfection.
All right. All right, so, yeah, you can just go to the next slide, and I apologize that I'm asking you to drive here.
That's all right.
But, so if you all go in the mini time machine here, back in November, when we met about the work that was not going on with the EDC, and sort of next steps for that organization and sort of county priorities and funding, we sort of, on the screen here, we talked about a number of county priorities that we would like to see move forward, regardless of the staffing concerns and sort of the current makeup of the EDC. And one of those things was hotel feasibility, which, you know, I've marketing lingoed to lodging feasibility study, to sort of open us up to the possibility of different lodging options or lodging products being ones that we want to consider. So looking at these bullet points here, we were, you know, the objectives of the lodging feasibility study and sort of what I wrote into an RFP, which sort of was vetted and out for the appropriate amount of time on the county's website, was to understand market and sub-market comps. So again, that's to understand the our sort of like growth potential here when it comes to lodging opportunities, and then also understand our sub-markets. So all of the markets around us and also comparable markets around the state, right? So comparable sort of median income, as well as everything and anything that would be considered like a comparable sub-market to us, so population, mix of and spread of different types of industries, including tourism. And then we'd like to analyze our potential. So how do we actually, oh, good call. How do we actually stack up when we look at sort of like, okay, our market, meaning right around us, but also sub-markets around the state, what's the potential ROI for us? And then sizing and amenities. Cool. So yeah, sizing and amenities analysis, right? So this is how many keys, as they call it, and then what type of amenities are actually going to be a good fit, especially when you consider maintenance. So if we're going to, you know, if we're going to say we need a sky bar, what's the maintenance going to look like? A pool and a hot tub, outdoor, you know, pool. What's that going to look like from a maintenance and sort of like overall ROI? And then collect information regarding incentives. So this is working with community planning and development and all of our local stakeholders to understand potential incentives and challenges for all local stakeholders. So again, being able to present information to anyone and everyone that wants to engage with this community around a lodging. What does water look like? What does electric look like? What are tax incentives look like? Where are the barriers? And then create a deck for potential opportunities. So this is just like a one-stop shop PDF that folks could actually be able to reference and in order to understand the possibilities and challenges in our community. And then site identification and developer outreach. So some of the RFPs that you'll see, they actually, as part of the work that they do, they will sort of vet this and sort of sniff test this, the work that they're doing with different developers, and trying to understand sort of like, you know, what flagships might actually be interested, right? So if this could be a Marriott, sort of what developers would work with a Marriott that would be interested in something like this as an example. So yeah, next slide for me. We received 4 proposals for your review today. And I'll go through them in their sort of easiest, quickest way that I could think to do this was rank them. So I have sort of ranked them from what I would consider the strongest to the least strong, for your consideration. So, first one is a group called H and LA, or Hotel and Leisure Advisors. The president of that company, he is an accountant and has a very fastidious, numbers-oriented background. All of these, I will offer that every single one of these proposals that were presented, either the community already has engaged with this group in the past, or they come highly vetted from industry partners. For anyone that doesn't know, my background is my family has been in hotel and lodging for 45 years, and I was born in a hotel. That's the story I like to tell. So, these are all folks that I was connected to directly that do this kind of work. So the cost of their proposal is $55K. The advantages here is that this is a world-renowned firm that has a large Colorado portfolio, and their statement of work and sort of what they're presenting to us is definitely the largest and the most thorough. And I should also offer that the Colorado portfolio is not necessarily just Aspen, Ritz-Carlton, like they have worked in sort of emerging markets. So, but if you look at the statement of work, I would offer that all 4 of the proposals have similar variations on a theme in terms of what they're gonna offer. I just think that when you look at the proposal, you can kind of see pretty clearly which ones have really sussed out exactly what that looks like and which ones felt like they just copied and pasted. So field work and data collection, again, that's them coming out here and doing the work, right? Meeting with the stakeholders, meeting with all of us, meeting with the EDC, meeting with community planning and development, meeting with the city. That work would be facilitated by myself and others. And then the demand survey, so this would literally be something where they send out local as well as travel market survey data. So it's no less than 1,500 surveys that they send out. And this is to people within the community, but also people, again, that live in these comparable markets to understand, right? And an example is the City of Lyons. The City of Lyons created one of these RFPs in 2019. They're now building a hotel that came from that RFP. And so they will do sentiment surveys from the folks that were involved in that process to understand sort of like, where was the need, how did the project come together, what are the desires, sizing, et cetera. And then market and site analysis, pretty obvious. Financial analysis, pretty obvious. Narrative report. That narrative report would be sort of like a third-party vetted narrative report so that a developer or investor X could read words that are not me doing a tap dance to sort of paint the picture of why lodging is possible here. And then an incentive deck, which again, I discussed briefly, and then a presentation of findings to you all and to all the stakeholders involved. So that's proposal 1. Proposal 2, Place Dynamics LLC. Mike Stumpf, he is originally from the Boulder area. The cost of this one is $33K. This is the team that created the feasibility study for the town of Lyons, which resulted in the building of a hotel. I did speak with the town manager that helped create the RFP and is now sort of like helping to put together this property in Lyons, and they came highly regarded. And so, again, another great option. They will do the on-the-ground site tour, stakeholder interviews, so that their stakeholder interviews are a little bit less of that like 1,500 minimum, but more of like local stakeholder. Market analysis, site selection, and product recommendations. Product recommendations meaning like what they would consider to be, okay, a 90-room Marriott, that's an Inn and Suites as an example. The operation and financial analysis, and then the presentation of findings to all of us. Proposal 3 is Better City, Jason Godfrey. For anyone that's not familiar, Better City has worked on a number of proposals throughout his time with this community. He did work on a lodging feasibility study for Steve Smith. And he also worked on the resiliency plan with the EDC last year. And his statement of work was a three parts: demand analysis and market report, feasibility and ROI, and then recommendations for attracting developers. 15K, and as I said there, seems low based on my, in talking with my dad and then also a bunch of folks that he connected me with. The average price that I got for something that you could actually like action around was in that 30 to 60 range. So, and then proposal 4 is HVS out of Denver. Again, 15K price range. And then there's 2 co-leads, and I did get a chance to talk to both of them. They seem sort of really interested in working in this market, and they are based in Denver. Field work, market analysis, property analysis, a written report, and then a deck. An investment deck that we can sort of use as a FAM tour, so to speak. Next slide. Yes, so I'll open this up to discussion, any questions that you all might have for me, and thank you.
Great.
I guess one question though, those last 2 that really had like a narrower scope, is it, did they just sort of like misread what we wanted? Or, could we go, if we liked them as their competencies, can we go back and sort of ask for an amended scope at this point?
Definitely.
I just wasn't sure like how, we have to like reopen.
Nope, as part of the procurement process, which I have now read thoroughly, thank you, Tim. We are allowed to do that,
Okay.
as if that's something that we are interested in.
Adam, something that we've talked about in a number of our conversations and work sessions and whatnot, and maybe probably individually with you too, are like taking how, and maybe you don't know exactly the answer to this question, or this comes in that like current assessment, I guess, or the demand, maybe, like the current conditions in climate, and like an understanding of reinvestment or turnover, or maybe there are the beds here, but how are we attracting or offering something different or improving that? Will that be part of that demand analysis and market analysis?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
And like short-term rental, new restrictions, we're in the moratorium.
That's new territory for folks, like hotel and leisure advisors, right? That's what the business that they've sort of operated in for the past 20 years is to sort of advise on commercial lodging. So I would offer that, I know that we had kind of talked about this briefly. I think that, I think it's 100% worth asking how they would address the short-term rental piece of the equation. I think that traditionally it's a little bit like apples and oranges. They've tried to stay out of that world for a very long time, but I think invariably the lines are getting so blurred, and we have, according to key data, we have 490 short-term rental lodging options in this community. So there's no way to turn a blind eye to that when we talk about.
Yeah, and I think maybe Commissioner Marcel had asked the question at one point and recognized, probably information out of this study will help us inform our limits as well as those neighborhood impacts.
Totally.
And remind me what the timeline for this
That was my question too.
completion.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. So the average scope of work timeline here is about 3 months.
Okay, great, so we would
That's
have
awesome.
something in time for
Yeah.
our moratorium ending.
Yeah.
And even if you needed to extend it by like 30 days, that's not.
Yeah,
And again, that's a question that I'm more than happy to ask in terms of like how that can sort of, again, I think that on the face value, when we talk about like beds, we talk about lodging opportunities, that's a very obvious thing where it's like, okay, at the moment, there's 490 potential beds or potential sort of like keys that are involved in short-term rental. So they can sort of like analyze that and talk about that and give us information around that, but when it comes to sort of like, you
How
know,
we are gonna incentivize, right, which market
exactly,
we
yeah,
wanna encourage.
totally,
Yeah.
totally, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be interesting to hear from them directly how they would be able to provide us data around those specific issues.
Yeah.
Okay.
And other things too, would they include conversations or, you know, an understanding of like our potential airport development and attracting more small crafts for visitation?
I would offer that feels to me like beyond this, it starts to feel like scope. I mean, again, I think that they'd probably
It's a
be
small
willing.
input piece to the formula of their whole.
Totally, yeah, in terms of like, they POIs, right, points of interest,
Yeah,
they would be able to identify that as a point of interest, but I don't think that they would, it's not necessarily in the scope for them to sort of like incorporate what that looks like or anything like that.
right, yes, agreed, yeah. Thank
But
you.
yes, points of interest those types of things are extremely helpful in telling that picture of like why this is an attractive place
To build a hotel.
to build a hotel, to invest in.
Awesome.
Do they look at workforce availability, or is that, okay?
Yeah,
sorry,
that's part of it, right?
Okay.
That's a part of the challenges.
Yeah,
And a lot of that will honestly, workforce availability also will tie into occupancy rates.
yeah,
So they're like, to be
yeah.
perfectly honest with you, they're gonna look at April and get really freaked out,
yeah,
you know? As does every lodger in this
yeah.
community. But again, when you actually think about the potential there around the fact that, you know, 70, let's just say 70 as a blanket number, % of our workforce is commuting out of county,
Mhm.
that has some ties to this industry, that there's actually a really incredible growth. There's
Yeah.
potential there if the appropriate sort of product comes in. And I mean, what I'm learning more and more too is like, a lot of this does hinge on finding the appropriate management solution. So either general manager or management group or something in that neighborhood
Okay,
makes a big difference, so.
cool.
Where
Yeah.
is this being funded? I can't remember.
So the funding for this, the original conversation that was had back in November was that the funding for this would come from the money that the county had set aside for economic development.
Excellent, okay. Great. I mean, I would be comfortable with your recommendation. How does the board feel?
And I'm curious how much this slows it down. I'm curious, especially for Better City that does know the community, I'd be interested in going back to them and maybe to be fair, both of the smaller scopes of work. Again, I don't know how much work that adds, but at least for Better City that knows the community, I'd be interested in getting sort of like an apples to apples scope of work from them. And
For the 15K?
yeah, but you know, like just basically just ask them to beef up their scope of work, or statement of work, to be more similar to what the top recommended firm could provide.
I mean, I can appreciate that, but I also feel like there's, like, on the flip side, if they know the community, they maybe could have provided a more beefier
Yeah,
proposal.
Yeah,
With some of those details. And they're not, I don't think that they're specifically, like, their niche is hotel and leisure necessarily.
that's a good point.
So I
Yeah,
don't know. And like, just in the interest of like pushing
Yeah.
things.
also a good point. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
feel strongly, I was just sort of curious.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean-
it was like hard to judge things that had such different scope and
Yeah.
cost.
Totally, yes.
Um,
And again, it's one of those things where the RFP was very thorough. The RFP wrote to 7 statements of work. The RFP did not write to 3 statements of work.
Yeah,
Okay.
And I found it interesting, but I don't know, I guess maybe there's a piece of me that feels like fresh perspective would actually be maybe helpful on
Yeah.
this specific thing, since the 2 ways that specifically, Better City has engaged with this community were variations on this theme and haven't,
Yeah.
we're still where we are right now.
yes. Yeah, and Sarah, your point about, I mean, a firm that really specializes in this market, not Leadville market, but
Mhm.
the hotel development has a track record, that's appealing.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I feel comfortable with moving forward.
Yeah,
Okay,
Entertain a motion to approve or select hotel and leisure advisors. And direct staff to, create an agreement or draft an
Contract?
agreement, contract.
Sure. I'll make a motion that we move forward with the recommendation of hotel and leisure advisors. And direct Adam and Tim and staff to move forward with contracting with them for, the lodging feasibility study.
a second.
Any further discussion?
None for me, thank you.
Nothing?
Great. Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Great. Thank you, Adam.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, next on agenda, discussion and consideration of the service agreement between Lake County and the Colorado State Forest Service. So this is something, we did get an award for, granting that we have discussed in the past. And I spent time pulling this up and now I can't find it.
I know, because it wasn't good, not the packet.
It is now.
Here we go. Okay,
Not the,
Not the furlong.
not the, National Wildlife or Wildfire Awareness Month stuff, but the contract stuff, and if it's there now, great, but, it's hard to find it too.
so this project is part of grade funding to expand the ongoing work with the Community Wildfire Protection Plan. We started with, an award. We have our natural resource damages funds, which includes fuel mitigation. We have our co-swap, which includes SWIFT crew work and $500,000 in funding to expand on that. Neighborhood work, this grant, is additional $198,700, to further advance that. CSF, Colorado State Forest Service, will be the lead on, helping us manage and implement here. But again, not a new project necessarily, just adding the funding for the capacity to get things done, quicker on the ground and make sure we can complete the areas of treatment that we've identified and expand on that. Any questions?
No, none for me.
And I did review all the documents and didn't see any issues with what they'd sent you in terms of being able to sign off on the award notice.
Awesome, great.
I had a quick question, sorry, just, what kind of lands are they targeting? I assume it's not Forest Service, but like, is it private land or is it like county land or, yeah?
So the CSFS is coming in, so the co-swap, the start of the projects on the ground are with county, Newmont, and CMC land
Mhm.
primarily. And then the State Forest Service has always come in and worked with neighborhoods on educating and doing outreach and connecting people with resources to do their own defensible space. They are taking these funds to work with adjacent property owners of subdivisions primarily, to do larger landscape protection treatment areas, around Silver Hills or Gem Valley. They're working with Home Safe Trout Club to do a bigger area, within their property. They'll reach out, continue outreach to Sylvan Lakes and Piney Run up in the north, north of Home State. There's some other lands, and hopefully like right-of-way work will be incorporated into this as we continue to seek and hopefully be awarded more funding. There'll do some, actually part of this project is on some Forest Service lands around Mountain View Village. Arkansas River Watershed Collaborative finished work around Grand West Estates and a couple of large parcels north of Grand West Estates, between Grand West Estates and Mountain View Village. In the last 2 years, they finished that work, and they're going back across the highway to kind of revisit work that has been done maybe 7 years ago now on some thinning. So, yeah, it's spreading that out
Nice.
as protection buffers for various locations.
Awesome.
Okay, cool.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the, let's see, yeah, service agreement.
I move that we approve the service agreement between Lake County and the Colorado State Forest Service.
I will second.
Any further discussion?
None for me, thank you.
Not for me.
Great, hearing none, all those in favor? Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
thank you so much. Okay, and next on our agenda, discussion and consideration of the Wildfire Awareness Month proclamation. So last May was our first proclamation of May being Wildfire Awareness Month, in solidarity with all the efforts and off the wings of the last few years of catastrophic wildfire. I think we just want to announce and recognize the importance of local private landowners having that understanding of being wildfire aware, wildfire adaptive, having defensible space, having a plan, and also as we're talking across county departments and partners with the fire department and emergency services, emergency management, going through our next hazard mitigation plan, as well as other partners in the Arkansas Basin and particularly water holders, stakeholders. Post-fire flooding is a big part of that, which is we're doing a lot of work and modeling and improving infrastructure and outreach efforts to raise that awareness. And I'd love to read the short resolution. Does anybody have any questions?
I don't.
I don't.
Okay. If I can find it.
It is in the packet and the folder wildfire preparedness.
Thank you. I
Put
just
one thing in
have
the
so
right
many
spot.
tabs and I'm not, okay. All right, great. Resolution proclaiming May as Wildfire Preparedness Month in Lake County. Whereas 20 of Colorado's largest wildfires have occurred within the last 20 years, 4 out of the 5 largest fires in the state history have occurred within the last 3 years, including the most destructive fire in state history in the last 2 years. And whereas warmer temperatures, drought, and continued development in the wildland-urban interface have made wildfire mitigation a top priority for Lake County. And whereas Wildfire Preparedness Month is focused on encouraging residents to learn about wildfire safety, work towards planning and preparation to be a fire-wise and fire-adapted community, and take steps to reduce wildfire risk in and around their homes. And whereas these actions will lead to unified and fire-adapted communities throughout Lake County. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Lake County, State of Colorado, that the Board of Commissioners hereby declares May 2023 is Wildfire Preparedness Month in Lake County, that the board hereby finds, determines, and declares that this resolution is necessary for safety, welfare, and resilience of the residents of the county of Lake, State of Colorado, moved, read, and adopted by the Board of County Commissioners of the County of Lake, State of Colorado, at its regular meeting held the second day of May 2023. Any further discussion?
No, none for me.
Okay,
Thank you.
do I have a motion to,
I move that we approve the Wildfire Awareness Month proclamation for National Wildfire Awareness Month as read in Twitter.
I'll second that.
all right, any further discussion?
No, thank you so much.
Yeah, none for me.
Okay, thanks. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much. All right, next on our agenda, item 4, discussion and consideration of National Public Works Week proclamation. Is Michael on?
Sam.
Bummer.
The link does take you to the proclamation if you wanna.
I would love to read it into the record. All right, we have National Public Works Week proclamation, May 21st through 27th, 2023, connecting the world through public works. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Lake County, Colorado. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public interest of the citizens, civic leaders, and children in Lake County, Colorado, to gain knowledge of and to maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2023 marks the 63rd annual National Public Works Week sponsored by the American Public Works Association, Canadian Public Works Association, be it now resolved, we, the Board of County Commissioners, do hereby designate the week of May 21st through 27th, 2023 as National Public Works Week. I urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and quality of life. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the state to be affixed. Done at the Lake County, Colorado, this second day of May 2023. Excellent, this is great. Thank you for making sure that we included this, Tim. It is, never ceases to amaze me, all of our departments, but especially Public Works and the breadth of work that they manage and are, a key component of all of our activities, programs, projects, and priorities. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Any other comments or?
No,
Okay.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right.
Okay, I will make a motion that I don't know how to say this, actually. I'm sorry, that we,
recognize, or?
yes, recognize National Public Works Week through the proclamation as read into the record.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
None for me, thank you.
None for me.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 Excellent. Thank you. All right, item 5, we have approval of County Veteran Service Officer monthly report for March. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I will make a motion that we approve the Veteran Service Officers Report for March.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
None for me, thank you.
I actually just had a quick question. I realized, like, having voted yes on these things for a long time, like, is that something we do just like as a county because we're paying attention, or is that a state
He
requirement?
gets paid once you approve it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Just, okay. make sure I knew why we were doing this.
I asked the same question.
Thank you.
And I have been, trying to meet more regularly with Harry Beck, our Veteran Services Officer, making sure that we kind of help incorporate and have conversations and make sure he's aware of resources available to folks. I hope maybe you'll get the opportunity to connect with him on some opportunity, options and resources that might be available to layer with our efforts. And so that's been really great to continue conversations with him. Any further discussion?
None for me, thank you.
Okay,
Not for me.
all those in favor? Aye.
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 And we have removed what we posted as item 6. So on to the next item, listed as item 7, discussion and consideration of professional service agreement with the Spring Institute for Bridging the Gap training for Lake DHS Department of Human Services Interpreter Network. Janine is online with us. Janine, go ahead and give us an overview, please.
Hello. We have very fortunately secured the opportunity for the Spring Institute to come to Leadville and do in-person training for our interpreter network. We had originally tried to schedule folks through both online trainings or in-person trainings in Denver in May and June, and those slots filled up really quickly. And in surveying the folks that we have interviewed for the interpreter network, they have really enjoyed 2015, we brought the Spring Institute up to here to do the interpreter training. So they really enjoyed that, those that were involved. So we're bringing them back up in July. We have at least 20 interpreters. We can't send them any more than 20, but we have 20 signed up already in the network. And so we'll be bringing them to Lake County, which is very exciting. We hope to maybe coordinate with CMC where we have before. So this is the contract for services with them.
Cool. And Janine, the 20 interpreters are from the area, or are they just from Lake County?
Just Lake County. Yeah.
Just Lake County. Awesome.
Yeah, we've got 20. We have 18 Spanish and 2 Polish interpreters signed up so far.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And how will we be incorporating their training into our existing programming or future programming?
Yeah, so they will become a network that's available to all of our DHS staff for any interpreting needs that we have. And then as they get trained up and grow as interpreters, both through this Bridging the Gap training, as well as an individual development plan that we'll be working on with each one of them. We'll be making the network available to both community agencies. And my vision, which I'll be presenting to you all in June, is to also grow the network so we can market it to other human service departments around the state if we develop a specialty in human services. But they'll also be available for other community agencies. And the goal will be to provide enough work for at least a couple of the interpreters to make it sort of viable for them to do this as their primary income.
Okay, that's great.
Other questions on this?
Any other questions for Janine?
No, none for me, thank you.
None for me.
I don't think so, Janine. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
All right, I will make a motion that we approve the professional services agreement with Spring Institute for Bridging the Gap training for the Lake County Department of Human Services Interpreter Network.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
None for me, thank you.
Okay, so somebody just crossed my mind, like, a couple Democratic Central Committee meetings ago, making sure that local governmental entities had strong, second language services to the community was raised as sort of like one of a list of priorities for them to sort of have as a platform. So it might just be good for us to like write up like half page,
Yeah,
one page of summary, like I know, like we just rolled out the incentives, you know, for people to take Spanish language classes, and then we have this, it might be good just to like, you know, summarize where we're already at and what we're doing, just to be a little proactive. Cause I think the clear assumption was we're doing nothing.
And that's, yeah, we have multiple departments with
Yeah,
varied levels of,
yep,
yeah, bilingual folks and,
yeah.
yeah, that's a great idea.
I like it. Cool.
Thanks,
Okay.
Commissioner Friedland. Alright, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor? Aye,
Aye.
thank you. Thanks, Janine.
Yeah.
Alright, moving on to the next item, resolution 23-07. Yep, okay, Lake County joining the Rural Jumpstart Program for Economic Development. Mr. Bergman, would you recap our conversations on this for us?
Sure, I think it might be resolution 8, if you're doing the wildfire proclamation as a resolution instead of a proclamation.
Okay, number 8.
So I think it'll be resolution 8, the rural jumpstart zone. So the rural jumpstart zone program, so it's a collaborative effort by the state, local governments, some institutes of higher education, and economic development organizations. Ours is SCED. The goal is to incentivize new business to start in or move to rural economically distressed counties in Colorado, of which Lake is one. And those are referred to as rural jumpstart zones, and you know, the goal to hire new employees. So it's both a tax and a grant program. So businesses that are eligible to participate in this program would receive tax benefits. They'd receive relief from state income tax for the new business, state sales tax and use tax, county personal property tax, which is what the resolution is mainly about. And then we can present to city council tonight on and let them know that the county has moved forward with this, and then it can be municipal personal property taxes, and then state income tax for qualified new hires. So really just a way to relieve the tax burden on starting a new business in our community. Then for the grant benefits, businesses can receive a matching grant up to $20K as a newly established business, or up to $2,500 per new hire. And those are, you know, the grants and the tax benefits are for a 4-year period. Could be extended to an 8-year period, but that is the basics of it. One thing to be eligible to participate in this program, one of the key things is that the business cannot already exist within Lake County. So it can't be a new restaurant, it can't be a new garage shop, those kind of things. However, as we've seen from other counties that have worked on this or started these, there's a lot of really creative entrepreneurs who come up with great ideas and great businesses, and so this is one way to incentivize that and drive forward the board's vision of economic development.
Okay.
Remind me, Tim, please, the 8-year property tax relief and all these other options, are they options to be negotiated, or is that menu a set menu of your relief?
From what I understand, it is a set menu of your reliefs, so the 4 years, I believe your resolution,
Yeah.
talks to that, so it is, yeah, so we, understanding that such tax relief is limited by statute to 8 years for each new business. So it can be up to 8 years. That said, OEDIT, you know, could change this program, or the General Assembly could change the restrictions around this program. But at least, from the presentations we received from OEDIT, it's that initial 4-year period, and then, it would be asking again for, it would need to be re-up another 4-year period.
And then as you've stated, a number of times, the administrative work on this is at the state, correct?
Yeah, so this is, does a, partnership with the state and, local institutes of higher education and the economic development corporations. Really, Lake County government's role is this resolution and saying we're not gonna collect that personal property tax on this new business for up to 8 years. And from there, OEDIT takes the lead along with SCED, and we can direct them to engage with CMC as well. So really, it's them leading all the work. This is,
We just have
This
to
is what we have to
solidify
do.
the
Yeah.
tax relief.
Yeah.
And really, the threshold for personal property tax is so high that, like we were talking about with Stephanie last week, that it may not really have a net effect on county valuation overall,
Right.
holistically.
Right.
So,
Point to
yeah,
bring up again, yeah.
but it will have an impact on the economy as a whole.
Right. Did you want me to read it, or do you want,
Oh. What?
I can read it.
or you
Sure.
can, whatever?
Yeah.
Okay, resolution 2308, a resolution regarding the Rural Jumpstart Program. Whereas the Board of County Commissioners recognizes that increasing economic development is beneficial to Lake County and is a priority of the board. And whereas the state of Colorado has enacted the Rural Jumpstart Zone Program, CRS 3930.5-106, for the express purpose of encouraging economic development in the rural areas of Colorado. And whereas the Board of County Commissioners has determined that it is in the best interest of Lake County to enter into the Rural Jumpstart Program. Now therefore be it resolved, the Board of County Commissioners of Lake County authorizes the county to participate in the Rural Jumpstart Program. And be it further resolved, in the course of participation, Lake County does hereby agree to provide incentive payments, exemptions, or refunds as appropriate for 100% of the Lake County business personal property tax imposed on all new businesses that are approved by the Colorado Economic Development Commission to participate in the Rural Jumpstart Program for as long as the Colorado Economic Development Commission designates these new businesses as approved for the Rural Jumpstart Program, understanding that such tax relief is limited by statute to 8 years for each new business.
I will make a motion that we approve resolution 23-08.
Yep.
A resolution regarding the Rural Jumpstart Program. Sorry, my computer just restarted.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
None for me, thank you. I'm excited that I hope this brings some opportunity.
None for me.
All right,
Thank you. All right, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you very much. And next item, discussion on E911 intergovernmental agreement with the city of Leadville and St. Vincent Hospital District. So again, Tim Bergman, give us a little summary here. We've had many work sessions and conversations with all partners leading up to this point.
Yeah. So the IGA will be before city council tonight as a resolution for them to approve. And then last week, I presented this to the St. Vincent Board of Directors, Hospital District Board of Directors. They went into executive session to discuss it, came out, they have no qualms or issues with it, and we'll move forward with it. So I envision city council passing it tonight, and then St. Vincent's next meeting, and then at the end, or hopefully by the commissioner's second meeting in May, or maybe a special meeting later in May, the IGA can be finalized and you guys can seat the board for E911 directors. City council had some questions about the budgeting process. So what we have discussed and proposed to City Council and to St. Vincent is kind of a rolling 3-year average, looking at the percent of calls from the lead, designated by lead agency, meaning who is dispatched first, who is the lead on on what that is. The executive director of the E911 authority, right, will present all these things to the E911 board. They will decide and vote on it, and then, send out the bills, if you will, for each participating entity. So we had a discussion on that. So digging in a little more on that, there was a question from City Council. Yeah, because the way we have it structured now is that if the board would like to, if the E911 board would like to change the way their budget process is done, they need to come and seek approval from the BOCC. And then there was a question at council of like going to each individual or each party of the IGA, if you will. So I think we can accomplish that with the 5 members of the board are appointed by appointed by the BOCC, but come from the city, come from the county, and come from St. Vincent Hospital District. The board will need, the E911 board will need to vote, like a supermajority vote, to be able to change that budget. That will need to then come before the Board of County Commissioners. And if the Board of County Commissioners agrees with the change to the budget process, that would trigger an amendment to the IGA. So then therefore it would go to City Council and to the St. Vincent Health Board of Directors. So I think through that amendment process of the IGA, that can address one City Council concern or question. And then the other one is about the size of the board. So remember, we had proposed a 5-person board, so that would be the EMS director from St. Vincent Health, Lake County Sheriff, Leadville Police Chief, Leadville Lake County Fire Rescue Chief, and the Director of Emergency Management from Lake County. There was a question on what it would look like to have public participation on it via elected officials from the board, from all the boards and council, from St. Vincent, City Council, and the BOCC. I think there's a way to address that as well through the bylaws and the IGA. These are public meetings. People can provide feedback that way. Both the city administrator and myself will sit ex officio on that board. And also, if you think about the makeup of the board, right, so the sheriff is independently elected, so any complaints or things that he or she learns of or brings up can be brought to the E911 Authority Board. Same for the representatives from the city and from St. Vincent. And at the end of the day, I guess aside from the sheriff, we're all held accountable by elected officials. So if you have other thoughts or guidance for me on that, I could potentially see changing the IGA to having the city administrator and myself sit on the board. So that would be a 7-member board, with both executives reporting to their elected officials. So I don't know if you guys have thoughts or strong feelings on that. I want, right, so the board as it sits now with the 5 is made up of departments or agencies that rely on emergency communications to be able to do their jobs. So that's where we came from with the intent and the heart of all the work sessions and the creation of the IGA was for these people who rely on emergency communications to be able to do their job, to oversee that, to ensure that dispatchers are trained consistently and constantly and are as effective as possible in meeting our community's needs. So I'll leave it at that.
I think just from my perspective, I think if you add more people to the board, the more clunky it becomes and the harder it is for it to be a functioning board. and I like the buy-in of the members from each agency that we had, the 5 that we had talked about, because I think that they have collectively, they have the most amount of skin in the game. I just think it's fine the way it is. I mean, did it feel like the budget concerns and those kinds of concerns were remedied with those conversations, or like, does it sound like that needs to come back to the drawing board?
I think the budget concerns I can speak to tonight at city council.
Okay.
And then I think it's the representation piece, and perhaps, there's a way to show city council that, their representatives, well, yes, they report to the city administrator ultimately, right? It is the city council's decisions on these things, especially, the budget, and those kind of things. So, I mean, I agree that I think the 5-member board is perfect, and it might become too unwieldy. If we expand it to 7, well, it would be 8, and then we would need to find a 9th person, because we would need someone from St. Vincent City Council and the BOCC. So it would put us at 8, so then we need to find a 9th person to have an odd numbered board.
To me, things like quorum and.
Generally don't have a.
Yeah.
Sorry, I lost the thread there. Why does it go to 8? City, county?
St. Vincent.
Whatever.
I mean, I feel.
Yeah.
I mean, I obviously can't speak for those other entities, but I feel like there's enough trust in the people in those positions to make decisions that are in line with what, they have oversight of, and in line with what our strategic direction is. And I feel like there's enough layers of continuity, at least in our organization, that I feel comfortable not having to put one of us on that board. I think that was part of the downfall from the previous board, is that it was big, it was clunky, there wasn't structure, there wasn't some of those things happening. And so I think now this will put some structure in place. There will be some clear metrics that need to come out of it, because if you want dispatch to work, you have to be at the table. And so I think they have the most skin in the game to actually be at the table.
Yeah, it also seems like it might be getting confused, like the ongoing kind of conversation around some like law enforcement oversight, and should be very different, and that's the whole point of us pulling it out from under law enforcement. And I agree with you that there's people on here that are supervised by all the authorized and decision-making bodies, and I think that the 5 would be very effective, along with the director and the city and county managers or administrators participating.
Yeah, because I think if you want to go towards that model of law enforcement oversight, like citizen oversight board, right? Like we did have that at one point in time, and I think that through the pandemic that things kind of have fallen off the rails a little bit, but if there is interest in a revival of that, I think that's outside of the communications realm. Like, I view the communications in terms of the overall umbrella of emergency management and response as like the neutral party.
Right.
Like, really, they shouldn't be taking direction from one entity over another entity, because they should provide services to each entity, right? And so I think there's more risk having that as an umbrella under a singular law enforcement agency, just with, any kind of, political will sways one way or another. Like, that has more volatility than having a 5-member board that has all of those players involved, right? Like, that is the piece of neutrality in emergency response.
Yeah, I agree totally with that last point. Also, the discussions we've been having, this board we haven't had the discussions about what the scope and mandate and funding, all the things of any kind of accountability board. We haven't had that discussion at all, so you can't just slap that in at the last minute into this
Yeah.
Without a whole, I mean, without a whole bunch more
Mhm,
discussions, and I agree, this is not that board.
right,
Um, I guess for me, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm fine with, as, you know, the 5 member, I mean, if it's just like a complete deal breaker for some other entities, fine.
yeah, I think, I mean,
This is a drawing board.
I mean, if it's a complete deal breaker, then yeah, let's come back to the table and understand.
Yeah,
Maybe we like bring that into a bigger meeting of, like, all right, let's set up a work session with all of these entities and air out those concerns and
Yeah.
share why that's not a concern.
but I think, yeah, I mean, emphasizing that point you made, that, I mean, depending on which entity you're sitting in, I mean, you have line control over some of those votes on the board. So you're not shut out from this.
Cool.
Sounds like the consensus is to bring it to council, and will we bring it back to hospital board as well?
I don't think so, they're ready to move forward,
Okay,
so I think we're just waiting for their next meeting, which is next week.
Is that next Monday? The next
Maybe.
Monday?
It's either the 15th or the 20th, I can't remember, maybe it is the 27th, 22nd, sorry. So anyway, yeah.
Okay.
No, St. Vincent is ready to move forward, it is before city council tonight, so I'm happy to bring that, message. If any of you wanna come.
For sure.
I won't be there.
You won't? Come on. Got all the background now.
Not my issue, so.
Right, yeah, okay, so yeah, and I'm happy to report back, so, up to you guys.
yeah, report back would be great, and
Was that enough clear? cut?
Yes, no, thank you, that is what I needed, and,
much appreciated.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Can we take a very quick break?
Sure,
Yeah.
5-minute break, it's 12, or, yeah, 5 or 10 minutes, what do you need, Jeff?
5.
5 minutes? Okay.
Back for, grab some water and be right back. Okay.
Down on that.
Okay. All right, we are back. It's about 12:30. We have 2 more new business agenda items and then our consent agenda for minutes, bills, and payroll. Going into our next agenda item, we have the discussion on our remaining American Rescue Plan Act funding. And our county manager has a presentation for us. Take it away.
Yes, sure, so, there we go.
We're still recording, right? I
We
think
should
so.
be.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah.
stop.
I didn't, yeah.
Alright,
We're recording. It's fine.
pretty sure. Oh my god. I'll make it bigger.
Did you share your screen?
It did.
So escape maybe, and I'll give you the, there you go.
Yeah,
Where's the recording thing?
It's flashing right there next to it, so it's going,
yeah.
the cloud.
Alright. Okay. Hide for- There we go. Okay. Just a little background, right? So coming out of the pandemic or during the pandemic, Congress passed the American Rescue Plan Act. So it's $350 billion in additional funding for state and local governments. It was divvied up equally among the states and then distributed, and then the remaining amount distributed according to unemployment. So our local governments received 130 billion of that 350. And as you probably know, we have, 2 tranches of the funding, which the House of Representatives, which is controlled by the Republican Party, would like to take back any unspent ARPA funds.
Unspent or unallocated? Is that,
Unspent.
I think it's
specified
unspent, yeah, I don't know that they've gotten that far, but they would like it back.
This
So,
one, yeah,
and-
that's,
Yeah.
the budget bill that was presented is like cutting SNAP benefits, adding work conditions, like all, they're clawing back everything.
Yeah. So in total, Lake County received a little over $1.5 million in ARPA funding. So there are some guardrails with that. The biggest ones that it must be obligated by the end of calendar year 24 and expended by calendar year 26. Kind of some broad buckets that it could go, that the money could go towards. So it could go towards reduction in revenue for the government, for the local government. But we didn't go that path, which is fine. So we can do assistance to small businesses, household, hard-hit industries, economic recovery, premium pay for our essential workers, investments in water, sewer, and broadband. The biggest restrictions, they can't be used to offset tax reductions or delay a tax or tax increase, and they can't be used for any pension funds. Some more on the guardrails. So responding to the public health emergency and negative impacts, the premium pay revenue replacement for local government, and investments in water and sewer. So then, those are the 4 eligible buckets, if you will, and then they're broken down into other areas, or more specific areas, so public health, negative economic impacts, services to disproportionately impacted communities, premium pay, infrastructure, revenue replacement, and then administrative. So the BOCC has made strategic investments in our community to date. So for childcare, food security, housing, human services, broadband into some of our nonprofit partners. In total, you have spent a little over half of our total ARPA funds. So remaining ARPA funds, we have $772,074. We do have one outstanding request, which comes from Goal in the amount of $75,000. This would help with Rocky's Rock for one summer, essentially cover all of the operational administrative costs. It's about, it costs more than that to run Rocky's Rock, but this would offset Goal's operational administrative expenses. Other things and these are other areas we've discussed, but I've left intentionally broad, so we do have infrastructure, strategic investments in sewer and water. I don't know where Parkville or Leadville Sanitation are on their ARPA funds, however, we are working on our water augmentation plan and water enterprise, so this could be an eligible expense to get that up and growing. Green infrastructure investments, small business investments, we can still do loans or grants to support payroll and benefit costs to local businesses. Our Lake County staff, we can do a premium or incentive pay. Our nonprofit community partners, education assistance, social determinants of health, which is extremely broad, but we can do targeted or very broad spending there. Job training assistance, and then of course, housing. I think that's actually that's my last slide. So I wanted to bring this before you guys because we do have some decisions. We can't invest this money, so it is just sitting there. I think you've made strong strategic investments in areas that have been identified by the community that need investment, and then there's lots of other places where you guys can go. I'm not expecting a decision from you guys today. If you want to provide guidance on any research that myself and staff can do on areas, or if how you would like to move forward on either encumber the money, or if you want to spend it down this year, happy to have that, but I did want to bring it before you guys to force your hand, force your mind to think about it, especially given what's happening, or the proposals in Congress, which may or may not pass, but
Their clawback.
yeah.
I don't know.
Yes, you
I
do.
can think about that. I would fund Rocky's Rock for 2 summers. I mean, they've increased their childcare licensing to accommodate an additional age group of those kids going into kindergarten. So that's a huge help because we don't have summer care for preschool-aged kids, so that's a huge help. I would do that for even 2 summers. Social determinants of health. Things I would consider, just in like super limited information from school districts, partnership conversations, any kind of funding for additional intervention for learning loss. I don't know if that's like math and reading intervention, to have more one-on-one assistance with students, or what that looks like. Or that's education assistance too, but like if you pay for a person for a year or 2 years, that's something that I could consider too. Things that just come off the top of my head as you dive into some of that data. Housing, I'd be fine taking a chunk of that and putting it into housing. I mean, we still have the tribal funds too, right?
Yeah.
Then I haven't.
Can you remind me what that was?
950, that's like
it's like
basically
just
totally unrestricted, right?
Yeah, you can use it on anything except for lobbying. But I will not let you squirrel.
Yeah, no, okay.
Sorry, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
and back.
No,
Yeah.
sorry, I was just
No, that's
thinking of
good.
like, we have those 2 big pots of money.
Yeah.
And so
Right.
like that money, those local tribal and investment, the LATC funds. For me, that's an easy win for something like infrastructure investment for economic development purposes and housing purposes.
So these have been shared with you before, but right, just giving more in-depth examples of areas that you can, spend if that gets the mind going.
Yeah.
But I can also stop sharing so you don't.
Yeah, for sure.
And those all sound great. I think to emphasize on the housing, I do think we've talked around some ideas, and it just feels like every month, that just feels like a bigger and bigger problem for this community to, we did really good, fast work getting the housing authority set up, and it doesn't have its own trust fund, so whether it is, and I would certainly entertain like additional money for them to do some of their programming, that they just hadn't built up money for. And then we had talked about those ideas of, trying to like pilot and see if the idea of getting either home ownership or long-term rentals into a locals only market, and whatever the county or through the housing authority, but anything we can do to sort of pilot those ideas and see if they work, given how inflated house and rental prices are. Like, it's sort of like the worst time to do it. So yeah, some fleshing out some ideas of like what money we would allocate to those efforts seem good. The other, well, maybe I'll come back to on the EDC. Definitely, like I think we had sort of allocated in our budget enough money to do to either the county or provide to the EDC in its reconstituted form, like some kind of strategic plan. I think we had some of that still set aside in our core budget, but if there's any more we need to top up to do that right, I'd be interested in that. And then on certainly like whatever it takes to sort of keep moving the airport thinking forward, especially like the infrastructure stuff and resolving the entitlement issues, or I don't know if entitlement is quite the right word, but the boundary.
Yeah.
Let's just keep moving that forward. Childcare for sure. This is sort of housing and also like disproportionately impacted. I think there's, as I keep learning like more about what's like hidden in the infrastructure and the IRA climate federal bills, there's like a lot of focus on low and moderate income communities, and then hearing C4 and other entities, they keep running into problems where the house itself is not has sort of structural or health issues, or or like severe wiring or plumbing issues that are more expensive than, so it's not like coming in with a quick 1 or 2 or 3K weatherization. So I don't know what the right thing is to put money into, but I feel like making sure that we are aware of and tapping into all the disproportionately impacted low moderate income, weatherization, energy efficiency, electrification. There's money in there for trying to make solar work on low and moderate income homes, like really more creative financing structures where there's no money up front and it doesn't rely on the FICO score. It is guaranteed against the revenue of the savings of energy costs. So anyway,
Which money?
Sorry,
That's the infrastructure money?
in the IRA bill.
Okay,
There is a program specifically targeted trying to get solar installed on low and moderate income homes, not just people who sort of have 20 or 30K,
right,
relatively available.
yeah,
And you can, they specifically change things where you can have third-party ownership. So a company can come in and own the panels, and they can finance that against the revenue of the saved, of the electricity they will be generating because they own the panels. So they don't have to rely on the FICO score
In your
of the low
upfront
income,
cash.
of the low income household.
Okay,
It's their own creditworthiness based on their revenue stream. And anyway, that was like super rabbit hole, but like, I think there's a lot of programs out there that would work for our community
that we haven't tapped
that
into.
we just, a lot of these programs, the feds and state are all like rushing to try to actually implement the like 600 programs in that bill,
Yeah,
so. But I think, because we don't have like, a 10-person sustainability office in the county, like we don't have, no one's looking at those to see how they work, and I just worry that we might not be in line.
okay.
So, yeah.
I don't know if ARPA funding would go for this or not, but theoretically, we could use like maybe $10,000 of that for bus shelters somewhere. Or signage for bus stops for the bus route. I could use MMOF funding for that, but, would like to have as much of that go towards operations as possible, but just throwing that out there of like, if we need something, that's something that we might need.
Maybe especially if it was for the 2 mobile home parks at
Yes.
the end of the line,
Mhm.
that,
Yeah,
takes the disproportionately impacted.
yeah,
That are-
yeah.
I will look into that.
Okay,
I agree with everything you both have said too, and I'm not even gonna throw wildfire in there, because I would rather like look at housing, economic development, and childcare. And in that, I wonder, and just coming off of our housing authority another strategic planning meeting this morning and capacity, Jeff, to your point about, like I would, in the housing, I would love for us we need to build capacity across the priorities of housing, economic development, and childcare. And I think in the housing, it ranges from even like supporting capacity at community planning and development and the RHA, and maybe even like human services, probation, and Sol Vista in like enhancing wraparound services for upstream like support and preparing people to be ready to be eligible for new housing, and or enhancing those folks who work with those particular populations to recognize opportunities to connect people to the resources of preserving existing housing conditions. So I agree with all that, and wonder how we can strategically, I know Anne with CPD is like looking into maybe some technical support on 1 or 2 of our moratorium work, like how can we like allocate money there perhaps, so she can engage more folks and we can like really check these things off the box and move forward.
Yeah.
Like super interested in I'm all on board with the Rockies Rock support, and then would love to understand like what Bright Start support there could be, and if that's funding the salary, but also like back to wrapping into the housing conversation, there is potential that we could be proposing including a childcare space in the capital development construction project of our infill spaces. So maybe too, like in that same idea of building that capacity with CPD or whatever, like can we give the housing authority some money specifically for building capacity and like these other things? And I'd love to, and or like direct like Stephanie to really like charge that incentive deed restriction program. And as we kind of mentioned this morning, like in the next 2-3 months with revaluation, like how can I almost feel like we need someone solely dedicated to collecting and like creating a foundation of information and knowledge around how all these parts and pieces connect, to lead like the assessor's office and all of us through like conversations of opportunities for property owners who are going to be protesting.
Mhm.
Well, there is a housing program right now that you apply for through the state where you essentially waive your property tax, right? But then when you go to sell your house, the state has that listed as
Yeah,
that needs to
Like-
come
like-
payable, right?
let's
but I
make
think
sure we
that-
have this menu of options.
But
that
the
just
legislation is
passed.
changing so fast that
Yeah,
we can't project anything with how fast this is moving.
Yeah. It's not, it just to clarify, it's not a waiver, it's to defer it.
Defer,
because it
that's
still
the
has
word
to
I
be
was looking for, that's the
Yeah.
word, because it comes payable if you sell the property.
but I think it's, the timeline's passed to register for that one. I think it's on the same timeline as the
Is
senior
it?
exemption.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know if that's gonna renew on an annual basis or not.
I don't know, it seems dangerous.
And the property tax legislation that's like coming out now,
Mhm.
it's like 5 days left.
Right,
Yeah,
well, that's.
Like, how are you gonna vet that in 5 days and make sure it works?
Great question.
I was on the CCI, like,
Yesterday?
I mean, oh my God, so many aspects and so, not, I mean, confusing, yeah, but
Yeah.
just more like, I mean, so many questions, like, so many really important questions coming from the counties, I can't believe they have that fall through.
No, I doubt it.
They had like
It's
a big
gonna-
announcement about it even, didn't they?
Was that,
Yeah,
Did
always
they
do.
have a big announcement about something like that today?
I
Like
mean,
the
the
governor?
bill
Yeah.
language came out yesterday, but it was already like
Right,
3 iterations old.
Yeah,
because it's gonna set up a big debate between, Tabor tax returns and assessment values, and
I saw that.
obviously
I
the
saw that.
impact on the counties and what we're responsible for.
Yeah, well, and a big one, I mean, every counties, or, there's counties that are in very different situations in terms of what their valuation growth is and why it's growing. Like, some are actually like growing in terms of physical stuff, and some are just like having booms. And then really good question was raised about like, what about counties like us or Clear Creek that have mining as a significant thing that is like, has ended or
will
like,
end.
so how are these rules accounting for all these different trajectories
Yeah.
counties are on? And the answer was like, oh, good question.
Oh, we didn't know that was happening. Yeah.
Imagine that.
There is another update on that tomorrow afternoon at 4. I just saw that come through. So yeah, we can,
Anyway, but I don't know, Sarah, if this was your point, but like what it triggered for me, I mean, like we have these, I mean, whether it's like all the things that we put on CPD's plate or, on Jackie and the Housing Authority's plate, or things that we're asking Stephanie to look into. So to the extent it's eligible, adding some capacity,
yeah,
to those efforts,
Yeah.
Just, I mean, we've added some staff that people seem slammed with sort of like their day jobs.
Yeah, I feel like, and some ideas that came up this morning were maybe looking at any potential staff ability for participation from the Leadville Housing Authority, engaging them or inquiring, maybe we can contract for consultation or a separate project with the Northwest COG.
Yeah.
On some of these things, like Anne is talking to community builders, I believe. Maybe there's a way to expand or, with them or through their network, but it does feel like it'd be really awesome to narrow the focus and,
And another, this conversation, another guardrail for the ARPA spending to think about is, right, this can't, it can't be, right, like, it can't be, an ongoing project that we can't fund after ARPA's done, right? So, just keep that in mind. Well, I think, we can get studies done or work with community builders or things like that, just know that, like, you can't like create a new program or Lake County government that we can't fund after 2026.
yeah, like we do it for 1 year and then, right.
and I
But
don't
I-
think we've talked about anything, right? Do you think we've hit on, I don't think we've touched on anything, and we're talking about like enhancing existing
Yeah, no, just-
services across
Just
partners.
something for you guys to keep in mind so that
Yeah.
we don't,
Create
think-
something new.
yes.
I think
That
it,
was a good reminder.
I think it really is a great way for us though to look at what increasing capacity in certain programs looks like if we increase wraparound, right? It gives us that time to say like, yes, we have the ability to fit this into our budget because these metrics have been successful, or it gives us time to build a pipeline of funding for childcare in perpetuity. You know, because like I haven't talked to any community that doesn't have any subsidy from a local government for childcare, right? So I think it gives us the ability to kind of bridge some of those programs to create sustainable funding or sustainable pathways to success for them, so I think that there are those pieces too.
Cool. Could we, the only piece I feel like we don't have partner input on is maybe, and this is kind of a newer idea, like around like the understanding of all the services that have to do with economic development, employee support or workforce support, housing, childcare, like with Sol Vista and probation specifically. Can we like outreach to see if there's any way to build or enhance programming there, the same way that we've been talking about, like human service, support?
Yeah.
Just to inquire on what that would look like and if they've proposed or think of a plan.
Yeah.
Hi.
And maybe to throw into that bucket, I mean, if we are pursuing, you know, trying to have a Summit Community Care Clinic come up and take on a rental cost of integrating that with public health, I mean, maybe that falls into an allowable bucket, or even like, you know, sort of like establish whatever the moving costs are, you know, if there's some sort of like more one-timey costs or first year rent or something.
Yeah, for sure.
I definitely think it could fit in that, and expanding access to healthcare in our community.
Right.
Could definitely fit in there, and even if it's an incentive for the dental clinic to move there, then you open up another retail space on Main Street.
Yeah.
Possibilities are endless.
One other thing that was on the list was green infrastructure and resilience. Did you have anything in mind there, or was that just?
Thought it might get your juices flowing.
One option, Jeff, if we go back to DOLA and we don't have, an increase or an opportunity to increase the units that we're proposing for our current project, they talked about, you know, how else are we enhancing the project, and examples they used was, you know, a child care facility, you know, building or supporting that, or integrating that, and also for moving, and incorporating more, sustainable energy core pieces of that build. So it's possible, that we could you know, look towards more match funding for that project, if that's a piece of it. Potentially.
If it could, I mean, it could be, you know, plan A, B, or C for the Justice Center of offsetting, I mean, depending on when we build, or like offsetting electrification or that, it could be matching funds to get the village and Gordon Acres on a sewer system, or instead of whatever it is now. You know, there's broad, so I mean, it could be big things, it could be small things. You could tie it back to Sarah's comments and your initial comments, right, on like, cool, we'll buy you a new water heater, but you have no floor. So perhaps we build a floor for someone, or help with extensive renovations, I don't know.
Yeah,
okay, I mean, or maybe even just a reserve for matching funds for some of those.
For any of those
programs.
things,
But mindful of the deadlines.
Yes. I am happy to maybe just reach out and gather some information on some of those ideas I have brought up. And continue conversations regarding like intervention and learning loss and those kinds of things, to youth and then.
at that sexy hair.
Sarah, I mean, is the wildfire protection plan implementation, I mean, it seems like there's a lot of existing funding out there.
There's a lot of existing funding, I was taking the approach to not like throw something else
Yeah.
into the bucket, because I feel like we all have been talking about, $700,000 only goes so far, and moving the needle to really focus those on like 3 categories, which I think all of what we've talked about kind of fit in those few buckets in one way or another. So yeah, I mean, sure, we could, but I don't know that we could, the funding's coming in, partners are really being helpful and incredible in financial support and administrative support, and it's also a matter of like finding the physical humans to put on the ground to get the work done, so I think it feels like it's got a good cadence of.
Need a big hit to
Mhm.
make happen, yeah.
Cool.
I mean, the one other thing on the green stuff that sort of keeps coming up is like trying to get Xcel to upgrade the whole of sort of the city of Leadville core electric infrastructure, rather than like hitting individual homeowners one at a time when they try to upgrade. I know we can't lobby with the money, but even potentially hiring someone to have like a real clear ask of Xcel, or understanding the right way to ask Xcel, cause I mean, they Xcel managed to come up with a big project of upgrading our gas lines. So why can't they come up with a plan to upgrade our electric lines,
Doesn't make
comprehensively?
as much money.
Or do it instead, $40 million would have gone a long way to upgrading Leadville's electric system.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just sort of throw that in the green
Okay.
stuff, if there's someone, if there's a firm that is an expert in local electric transformers and service lines, and could sort of like come up with like a price tag or advice on how to ask that question correctly.
Yeah,
Okay.
cool. Alright,
That's all I have for ARPA.
Is that enough?
That is, yes. Yes, thank you.
okay, I have my things to follow up on. Okay,
And then, anyway, we'll turn it over to Ann.
Alright, last on our agenda.
I know I'm on last on the agenda, so I'm gonna try and be pretty quick, except I did send an email over to, if I could just open it up, I just wanted to, Tiff got it. I just wanted to just preface that this is a contract for software for CPD. But I just really wanted to kind of tell you that I'm super proud of the staff. I had them, Jake and Stacy took the lead on going out and researching all the licensing permitting that we could possibly ever find. And they had initial meetings and presentations with several different companies. And then they broke it down into 3 different ones for us. And they did these great comparison PowerPoint for us. That was Civic Plus, and then Cloud Permit, and then OpenGov. And then they brought those 3 to us as their final findings, with, as you can see, just a really good breakdown, just really impressive work that staff did. I'm really going through and really vetting all of the different software. So I just wanted to really bring it to you today that this was such a great department effort in trying to look at what was gonna work. We needed a lot of lessons learned in trying to work with Tyler for an extended period of time and not getting where we needed to go. And so we were really excited when we all had a consensus from the whole team. We all sat down, did presentations for these 3. Cloud Permit just exceeded our expectations. We were so excited about the software. It was incredibly intuitive. This is a subscription and not a license agreement. It allows us to have all of their updates as they come, so whenever the software changes or new utilities are available or new aspects, we can just upgrade with the company. So it's really exciting, it's very open-ended, we can really manipulate it and make it fit our needs. The really exciting part is this is going to help us in building and in enforcement and in land use. So previously, we had just hoped that we might squeak out with some building department software with Tyler. So really excited about that. I think the other thing that we're kind of thrilled about is that our first quote was for an annual fee of $20,000 for the subscription. Because we're able to bring this to you today, and which has been through legal review with Chris and fully vetted, we can realize a $3,000 a year benefit in that. So we were able to negotiate it down to $17,000 for the subscription cost annually. We're also thinking that the increase in revenue that we are generating already with our 30% increase in building permit fees, we may have some changes there coming up. And our cost recovery study that we're hoping to go out to RFP very soon with, this is something that's very sustainable for the department. But it's very exciting from, I think what will really speak to everyone is on the planning side of this, we no longer have to upload files into Google Docs. We'll have our own share through Cloud Permit. It automates out to all our referral agencies, out to all of you. It'll create our packets that go out to you, that'll be automated. It almost is like having an FTE with what we've seen. There are so many manual touches in the building department that this software is so intuitive that it will take out so many of those steps. When we get a new building inspector, which might be a real reality, and that when I was first rolling this out, but now this will give them the ability to do inspections online in the field. That will automatically send results to the permit holders immediately. They can take photos and upload them in, if there's a problem and they want to highlight that and document it. We've never had those abilities. So for the consumer, for the citizens, for the community, this is just gonna be just creating such a better level of efficiency and community customer service than we've ever been able to provide before. So we are super, super, super excited about this, and it was a real team effort. I guess I want to bring that forth, that everybody really dug in, and it was everyone's decision in CPD that we pursue Cloud Permit. And so I have the contract that has been reviewed by Chris. She gave them helpful guidance on any other Colorado contracts that they have. So moving forward, they are in the midst right now of implementing and onboarding Gypsum. And so they are working with them. We got a great recommendation. They are excited as well as they currently work with Aspen, Snowmass, and Albert and Boulder. And so we are excited about this contract and bringing it forth today for acceptance. So here's a copy of the budget like we explained. There is a one-time, this is our implementation fee, and then we are at $17,000 on an annual subscription with them.
And when you look on their website, you get all the capabilities of that?
Yes.
With that cost?
Yeah, with
Okay.
the cost.
Like the public noticing, the meetings, the minutes, the
And you've been
application.
Sorry,
Yes.
Yeah,
you've been through failed attempts, so I think
This is great.
it's really nice to know that you have, through past failures of engagement, hoping for something like this. I think you guys will be sure to hold their feet to the fire.
Yes,
And you
yes.
feel like
And
you'll get
that's-
that so much better.
Yeah, along that same line, that was my only concern, is we're still waiting to get things fully resolved with Tyler in terms
Okay.
of the work that they alleged they did for CPD that
Right.
led to nothing.
Okay.
So that, I just want that to be on your radar, that
Okay.
that might be something we have to negotiate to resolve as well, but I 100% support CPD getting this program in place.
We're
Same.
just talking about building capacity.
Exactly.
Giving you time.
Yeah, I think this is gonna do amazing things for the front office. And it's just, the efficiencies, the automation. And then we can go in and just, it's so customizable. If there's anything that just doesn't quite work, we can control it. We don't have to go to a third party to go in and make simple changes. We can just simply do it. So that's really exciting.
Cool.
Was IT a part of any of these downloads, or will you need some level of attention from IT, I imagine, to help you with that as well?
So we had talked to Greg a little bit, but we'll make sure that we're interfacing with Tom as well on this, just to, we've got included in that paperwork, which I can email over, there's a whole implementation plan, which is really nice. We start with building, then we go into enforcement, then we go into planning as our third step. And it just, we got an opinion from them, and they said that it was really intuitive, and pretty easy to do. So there's two, I just pulled out like the signature pages, but that is all the implementation guide.
And this was is it annually renewed with our subscription
Yes.
payment?
Yeah, and that's part of the changes that we made to the contract, because they were asking for a multi-year so it's based on or conditioned on annual appropriation and that kind of stuff.
Excellent, okay,
Cool.
great,
All right.
exciting.
Yeah, we're really excited. It's gonna be a game changer. And we did talk about too, we're thinking kind of long-term of how do we, and we'll work with other departments too, because I know like the assessor's office is looking like when we can eventually get all those address files digitalized and into the system. But moving forward, wanting that one place where you can go to an address and see everything on it, this is going to work. So, Bryce has really looked at it from the Esri sync. And just our ability to pull an address and see everything on it. So we're really hopeful that it's gonna bring all of that integration and that cohesion. So,
Very
and then
exciting.
eventually get all those historic records in. And so maybe that'll be a great internship
Yeah,
opportunity.
yeah, awesome.
Can applicants sort of see a status bar, cause I bet like half the calls you get are probably like,
Yes.
where's my permit?
Yes, absolutely. So they're gonna be able to see it's gonna be such a great tool for permit holders too.
Yeah,
No more are we gonna have, we'll still have obviously the permit on site. But like the plans, if we have a third-party plan reviewer, we just upload them in here. Right now, we have to put it in SharePoint, but right from here, they can go right into Bluebeam. They can do their plan review, they can stamp the plans right in there and send it back to us, and they stay right there. So when the contractor goes in the field, he can open up their plans, you can see everything right on site. It's just, there's so many amazing aspects.
Yeah, it says that you can access it from anywhere that you have internet capability, and that applicants won't be able to upload an application in there until it's fully complete with the steps we
Exactly.
recognize as needing to be complete before it's accepted.
Exactly, so just in that, sometimes.
And they'll be
there's
able
just-
to see their status.
Exactly, they'll be able to see the status of the review. Staff spend so much time on just trying to get complete applications into the queue to even get where they need to go. And this has those stopgaps, like, okay, no, you've gotta do this before you can get to here. And so it just ensures complete applications, and it's just the whole efficiency part of it is gonna be really. We're also we really think that we're gonna bridge over septic permitting too, to skip the paper and put it into here as well.
Cool.
So, we also think, so it'll be one place where
Nice.
land use lives, septic permits live, building permits live, enforcement lives,
Cool,
one platform.
fantastic.
yeah,
Sounds good.
So, excited.
I will make a motion that we
Yeah.
approve the contract with Cloud Permit.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
No, thank you.
Alright, hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great,
Thank you.
Good job, Ann.
Thank you.
I'll sign these, is that what?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, because that is signed already, yeah.
what's this pile?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Thank
Alright,
you.
thanks, Ann. That's the last agenda, a new business agenda item. We have our consent agenda. minutes from April 4th meeting. I just had a couple of comments, Tracy, on the, informational items, and I'm sorry, I didn't have time to listen. But we are not working on the water conservation district, we're working with the Upper Ark Water Conservation District. I just didn't want that to like trigger anyone that we're like creating something different. So that was just in the community informational updates. And then my only other question, and I forwarded the, and I'm sure, I think you must have taken this from the written files, the land use files. So I didn't go back to
Yeah.
check that they're,
Yeah, I had them
Exact.
send them on to you.
okay. That was my only other
So it
question.
included all your additional conditions.
Yep. So I don't think, and the last. Did we, and I think maybe, I hope we included like the $1,000 annually for the motocross track. I think that's in our lease, so maybe not necessary to change the minutes to reflect that, but, those were I didn't have any substantive comments on your minutes, so thank you.
Thanks, Tracy.
Anybody else?
Nope.
Okay,
I will make a motion that we approve the consent agenda, with the items listed from Commissioner Mudge.
I'll second.
any further discussion?
None for me, thank you.
All right, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
I,
Excellent. Do you
Thanks.
wanna,
Oh,
one more community
sure.
information?
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to talk about the opioid settlement work. So regionally, we will meet in May to go over some RFP work to set the guidance for our regional operation, and so we'll be participating in that work in May, and then we'll give an update in June of what comes out of that.
Excellent, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, and with that, at 1:16, we will adjourn.
All right,
Thanks so
thank
much,
you.
everyone.
Do you have the mouse, Tim? Or you can, oh,
I have
thank
those
you.
7 minutes I never got.